Good to be back. That trip was awesome, but long. It took it out of me. Anyway, let's get back to it. This weekend, Ilia Topuria is going to get demolished by Alexander Volkanovski. I am so surprised at the amount of people that are going into this weekend saying that Ilia Topuria is going to win this fight. I know that Alexander Volkanovski is 35 years old. I know that no one over the age of 35 or at 35 has ever won a title or defended a title in the lower weight classes. I know that he was just KO'd, but all of this is right there for Volkanovski. It is perfect for him to set himself up and remotivate himself and get himself back into the game. Let's not forget, that up until his last fight with Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski was almost a perfect fighter. No one is a perfect fighter, but Volk was so close. He was the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. He outboxed Max Holloway. He survived Ortega's jiu-jitsu. He beat Jose Aldo. He has been on a legendary run and never lost at 145. That doesn't mean that he's never going to lose. One day he will lose. I just don't think that this weekend is it. The guy has so many tricks in his tool belt. In Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev 1, so many people around the world saw that fight going Volk's way. Me too. He was surviving and dominating on the ground with Islam Makhachev, especially in that 5th round. Obviously, during the fight, Islam did incredibly well on the ground, and Volkanovski was lucky enough to survive in the 3rd and defend really well. But as the fight went on, Volk's grappling and ground game showed to be the one that if that fight had had a 6th round, Volk would have won that part of the fight game. Then, of course, he has surgery, he's recovering, he doesn't think he has a fight lined up until maybe January of this year, so he is on the couch, drinking, having a good time with his family, thinking about fighting, missing fighting, and on 11 days' notice, he gets the call. And now that he has been knocked out on 11 days' notice after surgery, after flying from Australia to the Middle East on 11 days, and he said he was at 185 pounds. He had to drop weight. He didn't have a single ab on him in that fight. He gets knocked out, and now people think that he has not got it anymore. I am honestly shocked at how many people judge you by your last fight and not over your resume, especially when you have so many extenuating circumstances going into your last fight. This isn't just like Robert Whittaker, who said and claimed and seemed like he came into his last fight perfectly and had a pretty dramatic fall-off against Dricus du Plessis. This is someone who has many reasons as to why they didn't perform the way they should have performed in their last fight. So Volk goes into that. He was known as the #1 pound for pound fighter before Makhachev, and it was because of how clever he was in the cage. He always came in with great leg kicks, that great step in jab, and hit a leg kick behind it. He always knew when to start applying pressure with his grappling. Look how he finished Yair Rodriguez. We always knew how hard he was to finish in those positions on the ground if you were someone that knew good jiu-jitsu. And then, of course, there's his devastating ground and pound once you get someone on the ground. Look at the way he was ground and pounding Makhachev. All of these tools that Volk still has, mixed with perfect preparation, and we know that Volk likes to train specifics, bro. All of those tools, mixed with the right preparation, when the entire world is saying that he hasn't got it anymore. This is all Volk will have been locked in on since that loss. Ilia Topuria is going to get demolished by Alexander Volkanovski. Alexander Volkanovski is going to just start jabbing him up, working his way inside range, as Volk likes to do, and then hide the leg kick behind it and just start to kick the living piss out of Ilia's lead leg, which he does leave out there to get kicked. And then if Ilia manages to push a pace back and hold it with Volk on the feet, which he probably will, Ilia Topuria's boxing is phenomenal, Volk is just going to start to implement his grappling as well as the leg kicks. And it's the kind of grappling that can hold it with Islam Makhachev and even start to beat Islam Makhachev as the fight goes on, as we saw in the first fight. So you're going to have Ilia Topuria standing there in boxing range, holding his own with the boxing with Alexander Volkanovski, but the lead leg of Ilia Topuria is going to start to get just smashed in. And then Volk is going to bring that level of grappling, that Islam Makhachev level of grappling, and start to implement that into the fight. Remember, Volk comes from a rugby background. He is very used to bigger bodies implementing their will on him. He is now going to start to push that onto Ilia Topuria as the fight goes on. And he is going to start to rain heavy ground and pound on Ilia Topuria, as well as the boxing that's led up to it. This is what I'm seeing going into this fight. It is going to be a masterclass from Alexander Volkanovski. You know, Ilia did really well on the ground against Bryce Mitchell, but Bryce Mitchell is someone who wants to get on you, grapple you, and then start to work submissions. Volkanovski doesn't really start to chase submissions. Volkanovski starts to chase ground and pound. Volkanovski is a cumulative damage-based fighter. He is constantly looking to just keep adding damage in different ways and overstimulate his opponent's mind. By the 5th round, and I do think this fight will go most of the way, it will either end in a decision or it will be a sort of 4th, 5th round TKO. But by the 5th round, you are going to see the wilted rose. You're going to see Ilia Topuria sitting on his stool at the start of round 5. Just before round 5 starts, he's going to be sitting on his stool and his team is going to be icing up his beaten up lead leg. The cut man is going to be over him, trying to stop the blood leaking out of his eyebrow caused by the ground and pound, while someone else is going to be pushing that pressure plate up against his swollen orbital from the jab. He is going to be breathing so heavily with a look on his face like Barboza versus Khabib. Just this look of, what am I doing? I'm drowning out here. I have been through an absolute meat grinder. While Volkanovski is on the other side of the cage just before round 5 starts, on his feet, pacing up and down, breathing heavy, maybe a black eye because of Ilia's boxing, but that is about all the damage that he is going to have. And you're going to see the life leave Ilia's eyes as he knows that he cannot beat this man. I honestly think Ilia is an amazing fighter. He really is, but I do feel like Volk's contenders, Ilia and Yair, have been a little bit rushed, right? This is what happens at 145 in a division where it is getting cleaned out so quickly by not just the champion, but also the #1 contender. We are in a super weird time there where these contenders are getting pushed up too quickly because the champ and the #1 contender, Max Holloway, just keep burning through them. Ilia is phenomenal, but in the top 15, I think maybe top 15, maybe top 10, he has got 2 ranked wins. Bryce Mitchell, Bryce is good, but you know, he's a top 8, top 7 fighter. And Josh Emmett. They're his 2 big wins. You know, he's not beaten anyone in the top 6. He is great, but rushed. And you're going to be putting him in there, a great rushed young fighter against a veteran of Volkanovski who knows that it is all on the line and is desperate to get a win back. It is really dangerous for Ilia Topuria. And just the amount of people that think this is going to be a masterclass from Topuria is shocking to me. And then you're going to have this, Ilia Topuria is going to have to delete his Instagram account because he has been talking such insane things. He has been talking about going off and fighting Conor McGregor after this. He wants to invite Sean O'Malley up. He's already calling himself the champ. He's releasing commercials talking about putting a rose, whatever the hell that is, putting a rose on Volkanovski's grave. He is so certain that he is going to win this fight. It honestly, it goes all the way back to the way that McGregor was acting around Jose Aljo, except I don't think he's annoyed Volkanovski. I don't think Ilia Topuria has annoyed Volkanovski the way that McGregor annoyed Aljo. I think Ilia Topuria has motivated Volkanovski, which is really scary for him. He is absolutely living up to the name of the Matador because he is just riling that bull up, and that bull is going to come charging at him. And I think it is going to absolutely embarrass him. And there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to have some egg on their face for thinking that Ilia Topuria is just this next generation of fighter, this godlike fighter that can pace up Alexander Volkanovski, when I would like to see Volkanovski properly tested and pushed and something happened to him, when he is coming off a proper fight camp in his real division before we start deciding whether or not the fall off is here. Because all we have seen from him at 145 is perfect. He moves up to 155, nearly beats Islam Makhachev, and then has everything working against him and gets smoked. Like, why are we surprised by that? Why are we taking any of that into this next fight with Ilia Topuria? It's been 4 months since the KO. He's rehydrated properly. He's had concussion team. Again, he has a rugby background. He has concussion teams working with him to make sure that he is 100% healed up to take this Ilia fight, and he is fully focused on it. So I don't understand why we're taking so much of this Islam Makhachev loss into this Ilia Topuria fight. To me, it's almost irrelevant. And all we are seeing is an old man who is learning with every single fight. He learned how to beat Max Holloway in new ways. He's learning with every single fight, and he's taking those tools into the next fight to the point where he almost became champ. And we're counting him out against a 28-year-old who has had a great record, but hasn't beaten anyone in the top 5. Look, that's just how I see this going. I might be a little bit biased, being a huge Volk fan, but you let me know how you see this one going. Put it down there in the comments. Do you think that Ilia Topuria is going to be putting on the masterclass to the old man Volkanovski? Or do you think we're going to see sort of like a old veteran fighter teach these young guns how to do it over 25 minutes, 9 times in your last fight? He has fought for a championship in his last 9 fights. Volk has got a few tricks left up his sleeve. You let me know how you think this one is going to go down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. And of course, I will see you all in the next one.